Hey AJ.
Okay, hold on. I'm in Dunkin' trying to get this done. Hold on. 1 second. Hey, Christina. Christina.
Sorry, I'm back.
Yeah. Did you I assume that's why you sent me the agenda for my question last night.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Dr. Silver is yes, and Lori are both prepared. Um, just so you know, I did forget. I bring my other laptop, my work laptop home to run the workshop from two laptops, and then I flew out the door this morning, forgot it. So I'm on my phone, but I did manage to get the YouTube link up and running from my phone, so the public can view.
Okay. Is the agenda going to be able to be viewed? Probably not.
I will try. Yes, I'm actually working. I'm getting an old laptop here at work, and it's very slow, but I'm booting it up. If not, I believe Dr. Silver.
177 English. Okay. All right.
You need a screenshot?
No, I have it. I just got to get to my computer real quick.
Okay.
I'm down the street at Dunkin'.
Got it.
Yeah. If anything, We'll just start the meeting in like 3 minutes, 3 or 2 minutes.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Good morning, everybody. We'll start in just a few moments. A couple clicks from my office. Start in a few moments. Make sure everybody needs to get on, get on. All right. Good morning, everyone. Give it just one more minute for folks who may just be trying to find the link. It is so good to see each and every one, or at least know that you're there.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I know this is not everyone's favorite time of the day, so I'm just going to speak kind blessings over your life, speak prosperity and power over your day. And although it may be cloudy and rainy outside, today can still be a good day. All right. All right. Michelle just joined us. How you doing, Michelle? Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me join your meeting this morning.
No problem. No problem. All right. Without any further ado, we have some technical difficulties happening today, so we're going to make it work. I believe that we are streaming to YouTube. And so, and Christina can share her screen. Look at God. Look at this.
I got him.
All right. So I just want to go over our agenda for the morning, just so everyone is clear. We're going to go through our mandated policy second reading. Then we're going to go through our special education program, preschool special ed program, exemption from instruction. Then we're going to go over other policies, powers, purpose, and duties, board committees, Robert rules, and mandated policies first reading. And finally, incarcerated youth high school credit and graduation requirements. Can I get a thumbs up from everyone that we are agreeing to this agenda? Thumbs up, thumbs up. Can't see everybody, but I'm gonna assume that there is a thumbs up from everyone. So without any further ado, we are gonna turn this over to the wonderful Miss Dr. Bethany Silver to bring us further in our committee. Dr. Silver, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Pastor Johnson. I so appreciate this opportunity to be with you this morning. I do have our slideshow that I'm going to share to guide us through our process today. And thank you so much for that comprehensive overview of what we're doing today. And you can see it on the screen here today too. As a point of information, I do want to share before we proceed with the policies, is that there was recent legislative action. And since this is the policy committee, I did want to bring this to your attention, that the 95% reimbursement rate for school construction has been extended to June of 2024. It was scheduled to finish in June of 2023. So the 95% reimbursement rate for school construction has been extended to June 2024. And the School Choice and Facilities Committee meeting will provide an opportunity to address any questions and go into more detail about what this means for us. But it is a very positive thing. So I did want to bring that point of information to your attention. this morning. And I
Thank you
will-
very much.
Sure. Okay. So we do have policies for a second reading: our special education program, our preschool special ed program, and exemption from instruction. And so this special education program policy is a mandated policy. And let's see if I can see the header. It is policy 6171. And we have a boilerplate policy that our board added language to and reviewed. But this is a standard policy that we did not have in our materials. And so this is the second reading. And Pastor Johnson, I would ask if you received any revisions from any of our board members.
I don't believe I got any revisions from our board members. But
Pastor Johnson, we lost your audio.
so sorry about that. Between the last time I looked in this morning, I did not see any revisions. But are there any board members on the line that maybe sent something that I didn't see regarding this policy?
No, I didn't. I don't see a need for further revision from my perspective.
Okay. Jahira?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Outstanding. And I believe I saw Francois. Francois. Francois, anything? All right. Outstanding. Dr. Silver, I think we're ready to move forward.
Excellent. Okay, thank you so much, sir. We will move forward with this policy for a second reading at our next Board of Education meeting. And I just want to extend gratitude to the team that worked on that, Ms. Jen Hoffman and Dr. Negrone. Our next policy is the preschool special ed program, also a mandated policy, and also Pastor Johnson. This is a standard policy with the spirit of our board integrated into it. And if you, sir, or maybe Christina had received any revisions, I was not notified of them, but we could certainly integrate them now if that was the case.
Christina, did you receive any revisions? I did not.
Nope, and neither did I.
Okay. Dr. Silver, do you mind just doing a high level overview? You know, I do want to move in the spirit of efficiency. You know, I do want to move in the spirit of efficiency, but I also know that everyone on here has a job and it makes it very challenging to look at everything. So I don't want to, you know, extend the meeting by going through all the details, but I would say moving forward in the next couple policies, if we could just do a high level overview just to refresh our colleagues.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Pastor Johnson. So this pre-K special education policy does communicate to our community our expectation to provide the least restrictive environment and services in our public schools, our community preschools, along a continuum of the least restrictive environment. So the spirit of this is that students with disabilities would be integrated into and included as much as possible into a mainstream standard education setting to be with their same age peers. So this policy speaks to that, and also to the planning and placement team. That's what that PPT stands for. Planning and placement team work that happens with our young people who do have different abilities, different skills, and come to us needing additional support. There is a statement about the Birth to Three program, providing the family a form so that we can ensure that we are supporting our youngsters who come to us with differently abled to enter into their public school experience in a very positive, supportive way. So that is what this policy communicates to our community. Back to you, Pastor Jefferson.
Outstanding. Are there any questions?
Yes,
Comments,
Chairman
concerns?
Johnson,
Yes.
if I can hop in here quickly. I guess, Dr. Silver, I'm only a little confused because I was previewing the items in board docs, and what you are showing doesn't appear to be what I thought I saw. So maybe what is that? 6171-2, is that what?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because I mean, what you said makes totally good sense. The versioning I previewed in board docs had only very modest change, which I didn't, and so that's all. So that being said, could you expand it a little bit more? I guess it's a little bit easy to read. And I do have maybe a question that, so at in the elementary school level, I understand that there's a general drive to accommodate needs and also to mainstream. Now at preschool, I want to understand what there seems to be the same commitment, and does your policy have this idea of reverse, what is it? It's called reverse mainstream model. That's in your policy statement too, right? The reverse mainstream model. Did I get that right? And maybe reading.
So that is
I-
that is here. That
Oh, did you get rid of? Did it get removed? Okay. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so that's not in there. Because I had a question about that. Because what I was trying to understand is there something that talks about, like at the preschool model, that should be, I'm anticipating focus of giving really individualized attention to the special needs child who has their own needs that need to be served to prepare them for integrating with the broader classroom, as opposed to having preschool be integration being the focus. So I see you removed it. Yeah, so I guess I was looking at a slightly different version. Okay.
Yeah, I would own that one. I think I may have grabbed the wrong file from the folder that Dr. Silver has. We're working off Google Docs and Microsoft Office, so I may have grabbed the wrong one. So I will own that one, Mr. Walker.
Okay, then
The version that we have up on the screen is the correct one.
Okay, so the reverse. Okay, so the reverse mainstreaming has been kind of removed then. Okay. Yeah, then I will stop there, because I think that was kind of my question there.
Okay, cool. All right, appreciate it, Mr. Walker, and I'm glad we got some accountability around it, and I appreciate you taking time to catch that. Any other questions, feedback on this?
Not from my end.
Okay. All right, Dr. Silver, I think we're ready to move forward. And if I'm not sure if there's any other board members that came on, but okay, I see no new ones. All right, cool.
Thank you so much, Pastor AJ, and we will move this forward for a second reading to our next board meeting. This next draft, and certainly, I did not receive any changes to this policy number 6144.1, the exemption from instruction. This policy adds 4 additional categories for exemption from instruction. And this is the opportunity for the family to choose to have their child receive an alternate assignment, which is right here. If the assignment, if the learning related to substance abuse education, anything that is religious, medical, bilingual education, those 4 areas, in addition to the 4 areas that were already in place, dissection of animals, family life and education instruction, HIV/AIDS or sexual abuse and assault awareness and prevention. If the family so chooses, they can request an alternate assignment. And I did not receive any revisions to the policy, any emails or anything, and I just want to confirm that there were no changes received by Ms. Santiago or you, sir, Reverend Johnson.
No, I did not receive any corrections.
And neither did
Christina?
I. No.
I do have a question, Dr. Silver, about this. As a part of our CABE review, did this policy in our review get upgraded? And if so, what was added or taken away?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Kate did read. We had over 230 something policies in our manual. Kate did review all of them and did note that the trying to find a place to put my cursor where I'm not don't have something blocking the text. Kate did review this policy and did identify that the 4 areas, the 4 additional areas needed to be included in our policy statement. So that is a required change identified by the CABE audit.
Okay. All right. Any questions around this?
Yeah, I have a question too.
Go for it.
In a question mode. Hey, no revisions. I get what this is about, but curious. Number 4, bilingual education. The state requires world language education of its students as a graduation requirement. So how is bilingual education something that students can actually be exempted from? Is there another understanding of bilingual education that's outside of the state requirement for students?
Thank you so much, Board Member Walker, for that question. This is a great opportunity to clarify. So bilingual education is provided to students who arrive from other countries speaking other home languages. And some of our families do not want their child to receive supports in the native language and ask that we not provide that bilingual education. So that's for families whose children, through the LOS assessment, the LOS links, which is the home language and primary language assessment, students who qualify for 0 to 30 months of support in bilingual education, families can ask that we not provide that kind of support to their child.
Okay, thank you. That's a great clarification. Yeah, I understand what you're saying now.
Any other questions or concerns? All right, I believe we're ready to move forward, Dr. Silver.
Thank you so much, Pastor AJ. Moving on to our first readings for today, our first policy readings. We have power, purposes, and duties, which is policy 9012. board meetings and committees, which is policy, there we go, 9321, and our graduation requirements, which is our policy 6140. With the first policy for our first reading, power, purposes, and duties, policy 9012. The change is there's a refinement to the staff approval process to include superintendent and cabinet. And I'm wondering, actually, Christina, if you can share the tracked version of those changes. Christina, I can't hear you.
Oh, I just muted myself. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
I can share my screen with the draft.
fantastic. Thank you so much.
It is this line right here.
Okay,
Pastor
so there
AJ, I
is-
know, I'm sorry, you can speak to it that at previous retreat, the board had reached a consensus that we thought that it would be best to have cabinet level positions approved as long as the superintendent made a way for the new board members to meet and greet new principals appointment. So it's that simple change right there. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all remember this in spirit that it was proposed in.
Mhm.
Are there any questions or concerns? I mean, I believe we had consensus then, so I'm not sure if anybody's mind was changed or spirit was changed with this. I like the
No,
superintendent of
no.
schools. Yep. Mhm.
Oh, I'm so sorry. AJ, I didn't mean to interrupt you. No, I said, no, I'm actually happy about this change.
Awesome. I like happy people. All right, cool. All right. I don't think if there's no other discussion, is it your recommendation, Dr. Silver, that is this a first reading? Do we put it on
Yes.
on the agenda? Okay, yes.
Yes, sir. So we can move forward with the first reading of this policy revision at our next board meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to need Christina's help for the next policy as well for our first reading, which is policy 9321, where the school choice will transition to the Family and Community Engagement Committee.
Yes, that also has long been a thought with board members who always felt that the school choice piece was a family process and should be under the Family and Community Engagement Committee. And then we would either ad hoc the facilities committee, call it when needed, for example, a construction item, and also provide quarterly reports to the board members on any facilities.
Okay. What, Dr. Silver, what number is that? Number 3 here, that's X out? Oh, right here.
Oh,
Okay.
yes. So it's number 3 is a school choice and facility. So I
Yeah.
took the school choice piece and put it under family community engagement.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, I chair the FCE committee. Who's the staff liaison for the school choice and facilities committee?
Ms. Bejo,
Okay, great. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other questions, comments, concerns on this?
Yeah, Chairman Johnson, I like the approach. My question is about the ad hoc committee pulled together for facilities. So beyond the ad hoc, committee, I guess I'm directing it towards Dr. Silva or Ms. Santiago. Is there's any idea that, I guess, building plans or strategy or, you know, the overall, you know, building direction, is that going to ever be presented to the board, or in some ways, you know, the board privy to that beyond just the ad hoc, since we won't have a committee any longer? I guess I'm trying to figure out how would the board find out what's happening with buildings and stuff.
Right. I mean, I think even now in the current structure, any of that is run through the School Choice and Facilities Committee and then taken to the full board or part of her reports. So that would remain the same, whether it's a quarterly or monthly report for facilities that goes to the entire board. So I guess what I'm saying, it's not just that went to the former members of the Facilities Committee, it's to the entire board. As well as when we call it ad hoc, I think it would be any board member who can join to review those construction documents or any potential items that will be going to the full board for a vote, if that's your question.
I think, yeah, the way I'm reading this, the committee, I guess the way I'm reading it, the committee's going away, correct?
Yes, to be called ad hoc though. So sort of
Right.
going away, but still to be called because it is needed. It's just
Okay.
we felt that it was not needed monthly.
Correct, I get your point.
Yeah.
All right, so they'll still get to the full board
Yes.
when, okay. Yeah, so, all right, that clarifies it, thank you.
Outstanding. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Outstanding. So your recommendation for this, Dr. Silver, is
Is to move forward for first reading for
First-
at our next board meeting.
correct. All right. I think we're ready to move forward.
Thank you so much.
Over here.
Then if I may move on to our next policy.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay. I am going to share my screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. You want me to stop sharing? There is one more, the Roberts Rules agenda item before you jump into the, sorry.
I'm sorry.
So, real quick, I did talk to Miss Attorney Mazurek on this, and she looked at other commissions and committees out there in the state, and what they do is add this line. And this is after the meeting that we had last time. For some reason, board docs gave me misinformation where it did not apparently follow Robert's Rules. So we just want to emphasize that we as a board do follow Robert's Rules of Order when it comes to meeting conduct.
Right. I do have a comment about this. So is this in line with our standard operating procedure?
I'm sorry, I don't, is Robert Rules?
Yeah,
Or-
like, so, I'm trying to get the spirit of Phil's question to me. So we talked about developing a standard operating procedure to be our bylaws where we default to Robert Rules.
Okay, so I think we could still do the SOP, which would be separate from the policy, the bylaw. If that's your question, like, as in, yeah, that would not be in the bylaws, but it could be a standard operating procedure that we can create for the board. Yes.
Correct, okay. And my question is, do we do that in this meeting right here, right now in our policy committee meeting?
We
How
can, but
do
I
we-
prefer that we do have a draft ready for the committee to, and we don't have that right now, to review rather than try to make it right now. Is that what you mean?
Correct. But I'm also in agreement with you. I don't think that we should move on anything, but I would like to see a draft, as that is something that the chair wanted to pursue. So I would like this committee to come back with a draft of what that looks like.
Okay, understood. And I will have that ready for the next policy committee in time for the review again for the second reading. because we still have to go through the second reading and adoption for this.
Correct.
Yeah. So I will make
Understood.
sure to have that for the next policy committee and send to you before and the committee prior for review.
Okay. All right, so back to this. Are there any, I mean, this is kind of, as my son would say, easy peasy. So, any thoughts? Oh, let me guess, Mr. Walker, go ahead.
It's been that kind of morning. I don't
Go
know
for it, brother. Go
why. Had my coffee. So I'm in agreement with the change that you need some type of way of operating. One, Robert's Rules of Order is a little sometimes can be restrictive within some meeting settings. So I just want to say that so we can be open to maybe other rules of order if we find that to be the case. And two, if we're going to now be operating to it, Ms. Santiago, can we have, little Robert Rules of Order that can be provided or be made available to us, because people are going to reference it if we're going to use it, right?
Yes.
That's the only thing I would really say.
And I will
Yeah,
say that
well,
that was also another, a request of the chair to have training, PD available for the board, to
Right.
have a Robert's Rules of Order workshop. Or
Good.
training. I myself obviously need that as well, so.
Yeah, I could use a refresher too. So that's why, because it's pretty formal. All right, great, thank you.
I would even go a step further, Christina. If it can be purchased, Robert Rules of Order for the board members to have an updated copy.
Yep, I have already purchased, but not the full book. Is like what is it called, Dr. Silver? Like a pamphlet to a guide right there. I can't get books for all if you want the entire book, but that's like the I have it in front of me, a quick study. So, but I can,
Yes.
for any board member who wants an actual book. I did get the latest version, just one, but I can get it for any board member who requests it for sure.
Yes, well, I'm requesting the latest
Okay,
version.
the big book.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, because that's something that it's it's important enough to me to refresh on, but I will also take the quick guide if that's more immediate.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So hearing no other dialogue on this, I think we're ready to move this forward, Dr. Silver.
Thank you so much.
And
So,
if you check the chat, I'm sorry. If you check the chat, Francois would like, Francois, can you please specify if you like the book or both, the easy guide?
Mhm. Both.
Both. All right, say less. All right, we're ready.
fantastic. So we will move this policy forward for a first reading at our next Board of Education meeting. And we are then ready to go to our first reading of our graduation requirements, which addresses credit requirements and incarcerated youth high school credit. And I'm going to share my screen to provide an overview of the work that's been done. There has been significant work that has been done on this policy to bring it up to date. We did have a policy revision team for the graduation policy, and they conducted a statewide audit of graduation requirements. And the refinements are focused on first ensuring incarcerated youth earn high school credit. So the policy has been expanded to include language to support that. In addition, credit requirements have been reviewed as we transition to the 25 credit requirement that the state statute calls for the class of 2023. So the credit requirement tables, the grid that describes all of the credits that are required of a student to successfully graduate from high school have been updated and vetted with numerous stakeholders. Also, we are introducing greater flexibility regarding courses required for graduation. So our board in the past, in September, we had, or maybe it was October, but first reading in September, we did a first reading where there was a revision for the class of 2022 to ensure that we cast wide enough opportunity. An admirable goal of our Board of Education, so that students graduating during the pandemic would be able to earn their high school diploma, graduate with their cohort, with their class, and move on to high school, college and career. So this team that has done these edits they've included greater flexibility regarding courses required for graduation in that table, and also offering, which is pretty exciting, additional recognition for students who meet the theme credit requirements for their high school. So many of our high schools have specific themes, and so an additional accolade for those graduates who are crossing the stage, having demonstrated additional scholarship in those theme areas. So that is kind of the general overview of the changes for this policy. Now I'm going to stop sharing and share my other screen, which has the policy in it. And I am so pleased, so honored that the chairs of our revision committee are here, and we'll be able to speak to any questions that you have. But I do want to note before we get into the policy that the archive policy, the policy that archives, that once we get through a second reading, the current policy will be archived, and students who, if they were in the class of 2022 or 2021 and have not graduated yet, these requirements would not apply to them because the archived requirements would apply to them. So just so you know, if a student is taking longer to graduate from high school, it's the expectations, the requirements for their graduation would still apply if they're the class of 2021 or 2022. But this going forward, this policy would apply to the class of 2023 and moving forward from there. So I know we don't want to leave any child, any students unsupported. And so I just wanted that to be clear, that we do have that consideration in here. And I know that the red line policy online shows you all of the edits that have been done. And I know that sometimes for clarity's sake, it's easier to look at it, to review it with just the simple markup so that you can see the revisions. So Pastor AJ, I can keep with this view for a little bit, just to get through some of the credit requirement tables, but I do want to share that all of the revisions are behind the scenes here. And the incredible work that's been done by this team. So I just have gratitude for all of the engagement and discussion and consideration that's been shared through these revisions. So as we move to the table of course requirements, I'm going to turn off the all markup so that you can see more clearly, unless maybe that's clear enough. Is that clear enough for people to read easily?
I'm going to open it up to the board members because we all have various ways of learning and seeing things.
I'm okay with how it is now, but I don't know how other members feel.
I'm okay too for this discussion like it is.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So,
Okay.
thank you so much. Some of the innovation that's been integrated into this table of requirements is that we do have our standard course requirements that are noted, but we also have college career recommendations. So these are additional courses that our guidance counselors, our school counselors will use to ensure that students are placed in courses that would prepare them for their future and to encourage them to take these challenging courses. But we don't want, we are confident that the English 1, English 2 experiences that our students have, that would be 2 of the credits. We recommend an additional English 1, 2, or students, in addition, I'm sorry, students can take Lit and Comp, which would be composition and literature, or an equivalent course. So if a student wanted to take a literature course in Spanish, that course would count toward the literature requirement, for example. That's one example. And I'm sure that Ms. Avicoli and Ms. Kellogg would have additional examples if you'd like that.
So the spirit of my question and where I'm coming from as a person who had a very challenging educational experience, my question is, by adding these courses, are we, or suggesting the adding of these courses, are we adding more of an obstacle for students to graduate, or are we preparing them for their secondary education? Because I don't want to provide an obstacle, but I also don't want to not have them prepared for their secondary education, where freshman year for them, they can live, they can live or go home, right? So I'm just trying to understand, what is the intent of adding or suggesting another English course? I believe that's what I'm looking at.
Okay, and I want to defer to Ms. Avicoli or Ms. Kellogg to speak to the college career recommendation component.
Thank you, Dr. Silver. So just for some additional context, and that's a great question, and it's actually an area that we grappled with as a team, very much so, because in alignment to the state, if you're familiar with the 2023 requirements that come from the state of Connecticut, the purpose is to add a lot of flexibility within certain buckets of coursework. And so we tried to align to that as closely as possible. However, if you notice, the English requirements are actually a cutback from what they were. So we're still saying these are 2 core classes that you can take versus 4 that were actually named and required prior, in order to set students up with that foundation and then allowing them to choose after that, which we found was pretty standard in many high schools with a 9th and 10th grade year, that those 2 years tend to be fairly prescriptive, and then students tend to veer off into a direction that is more aligned to their interest or their post-secondary pursuits. So while we are still naming those there, I think it is purposeful and still aligned with other districts that we see. But I will preface again that this was a hot topic, and this is where the committee decided to land. And I'll let Tracy fill in any gaps that I may have missed there.
No, Michelle, you did a great job. I would echo everything that Ms. Kellogg had mentioned, and also kind of bringing us back to the purpose of the policy itself is to ensure that our students in Hartford Public Schools have the opportunity to graduate from high school. And so that's where the State Department of Ed has created these flexibilities, and where we have tailored our policy to ensure that our students are set up for success to graduate from high school, knowing that all of our kids might have different aspirations after they graduate. And so we did feel strongly that the college and career recommendation piece was in there so that the guidance counselors would be equipped and know its importance in, and this is also work that will be happening behind the scenes starting this summer with the guidance department, the school counselors, excuse me, to ensure that they're really guiding their students on the trajectory towards their goal, towards whether it's college, and if it's a college, a four-year university, they are requiring 4 years of English, right? So that needs to be the path that a school counselor leads their students down. So that's kind of there's the graduating from high school and then the what's next. So we wanted to just kind of separate that a little bit without getting too far beyond the policy purpose.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that explanation, and it seems to it seems like there's a lot of thought and energy put into this. And this is just for our graduating credits for our high school students, correct?
Correct.
Okay. was it considered, you know, there's pathways, right? Like, and you may not be responsible for this, or you may have some input, but is our middle school programming in line with the high school programming, like in terms of like, is there a clear-cut path that makes sense from 8th grade moving into 9th grade and 9th grade going to 12th grade and then exiting? Is those two may not exist in the same buckets, and forgive me for my ignorance of not knowing, but I'm what the purpose of what I'm asking is there a pathways for what we're creating now that's translated across the district and our middle schools to help prepare, like, because I don't want to make a change that doesn't keep up with the 8th grade learning that prepares them to enter into high school. And if I'm going way too deep, by all means say that. I will not be offended. But that's just my overall thought.
Oh, these are excellent questions, and we appreciate you raising all of this. And so the short answer is yes. So our school counselors at the middle school and high school level work collaboratively to ensure students are leaving middle school prepared for their 9th grade year. And I know even in the middle school, they're starting to explore what those pathways might look like for them at the high school. So, you know, with that experience in middle school also comes choice in high school, right? So depending on what a student is aspiring towards, that might impact where they determine to go to high school, and also what they determine to focus on when they arrive in high school. And so that is a lot of the behind the scene work that Tracy was speaking to in terms of the counselors using this policy as kind of the foundation to say, this is what they must hit to have a diploma, but then we're going to work to ensure that students are getting what they need to pursue the pathway that makes the most sense for them in terms of their interests. So it is something that is happening very actively in our Department of College and Career Readiness, along with our Department of Office of Academics. It's all happening. It's all happening. So that is the
Okay,
goal.
appreciate it. Any other questions from board members on this?
Pastor Johnson, if I could add additional details about the preparation for high school.
By all means.
Thank you so much. So we have a student success plan that is required by the state of Connecticut, and we have Ms. Kellogg alluded to it, but it does begin in 6th grade and expands through 12th grade. And there are assured experiences that our students have beginning in 6th grade with career exploration and scholarship, building study skills, and other success strategies for our young people, actually beginning in 6th grade. And then in 8th grade, between 8th and 9th grade, we have a wonderful transition program for our 8th graders in the summer. It's called the Summer Bridge Program, and we're registering students right now for it. And this is a great opportunity for our students to visit, be a part of their high school experience the summer of their after 8th grade. And that is to expose them to the building that they'll be in, to some of the staff that will be working there, so they can begin to build those relationships between the students and the high school experience. So there is really a comprehensive pathway that's well lit, well defined, and in place for our students beginning in 6th grade as we prepare them for high school and beyond.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And that's awesome, by the way. And I hope our parents take advantage of that. I know when my kids get to about 7th or 8th grade, we're definitely going to take advantage of that so they can get comfortable and make that transition smoothly. So appreciate it. Any questions before we move forward? Oh, Mr. Walker, I just saw your hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, hey, thank you, Chairman Johnson. So on the page that you're on the world languages, right? I'm going to make the recommendation that we align with it. Like currently, as I'm looking at UConn, their freshman requirement, their entry requirements is 2 years of world language, and they strongly recommend 3. So I'm going to suggest it here under world languages that we at least hit our current floor of saying career readiness recommendation should be 2 years of world languages for anyone who is graduating from college who is anticipating that, graduating from high school with the anticipation that they are going to college. Right now you have one, and to me, one is insufficient to get you immediately into college.
Dr. Silver, do you want me to take this? Because this was also a very important conversation that we had also. So thank you, Mr. Walker, for bringing this up. So exactly to your point, we had the exact same conversation with Dr. Negron and our Director of World Languages and English Language Learners, who we all have the same concern. And so again, to the sort of the same narrative that I had sort of given before was really that, the state is requiring one to graduate from high school. And so we didn't want to increase the amount of requirements for our students to graduate high school if that would mean that some of our students would not be able to graduate, or if that would create a barrier for students. However, to your point, it is really strongly recommended, and that's why those some of those language credits are in there. Is that noted in there? The college and career recommendation? Yeah, they do take the required amount that a university or college would need for that first year of entrance. So again, same thing as English, and you'll see that in I believe math as well, that under the guidance of the school counselors, they would need to ensure that they are supporting their students in scheduling them so that they have those courses under their belt on their transcripts.
Thank you. I'm glad that discussion has been had. I'm just wondering, in the language, could it just more clearly say
that
the career college recommendation is 2 courses totaling 6 credits? I get your point that you only need the one class to graduate, but
yep. So underneath it might be cut off, Mr. Walker. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. So it says college and career recommendation, and then on the next page, I think it says 3 world language credits. You need to have 3.
Oh, okay. That's what that's trying to say. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
As opposed to 1.
As opposed to 1. Yeah. You need 1 to graduate, but you need 3. To enter college.
Okay. Yeah, it's there. Okay. I get it. Yeah.
No, it was a cut off page cut off there.
Got it. Okay. So it's there. Thank you.
Just for clarification, I hear what is being said, right? When to graduate, 3 to qualify, spaces. But realistically, how is that translated? How is that communicated? Like, I'm sure parents aren't sitting down reading our policy manual, right? Like, so how is that communicated that we have one thing, but if you're going to exceed, you need this moving? Like, does anyone have any idea how that translates from school to parent to child kind of thing?
So we do have a college and career readiness team, and that team does provide training and support to our school counselors. And as part of that support in the fall, they will get an orientation to the policy and to the both the credit requirements and the college career readiness additional courses. So that will be part of all of the school counselors training for grades for our middle school students up through high school. And we also have handbooks at each of our schools that will carry the policy in it. And I know each year we, as parents, sign off on, we review the policy of the handbook with our students, and we sign off on that. I know I have a little guy, he's in 6th grade, but I have 2 older children who have gone through high school. And each year we would sit down and go through that handbook just so we understand the rules for what needs to be done to be successful. So that is part of the process. But Ms. Abacoli and Ms. Kellogg, are there gaps in what I shared? Are there additional opportunities to support our staff and our families?
Yeah, I think we could speak to the staffing part as well. We've been in lots of deep conversations with Dr. Fallon Daniels, who is our Executive Director of College and Career Readiness now. And she has a really strong pulse on all of this and has been integral in this work. She's also doing a really, really good job of and has a really strong plan for ensuring that this work, because this policy has changed quite a bit, you'll see all of the red lines, and that we've moved quite a bit of language to other components of our of documents that live in our district, away from policy, that she really wants to ensure that our school leaders, not only our school counselors, but our school leaders and our teachers and other administrators in the district are really clear as to what this is saying and how we are informing not only our kids, but the families that we serve. And so it is coming, starting with our Administrative Institute happening this June.
Outstanding.
I have a question.
Mhm.
And this may be another topic, another time we need to talk about this, but I want to bring it up since it's correlated. One of the things that I've been hearing from people in the community in terms of, these credits, and as it pertains to our guidance counselors, school counselors, I forgot the name was changed, so my apologies. Is that if you have a student, right, that transferred from another district, let's say East Hartford or New Britain or wherever, when they come in, one of the issues is that the school counselor is not giving, they don't have all the information in terms of their credits, their transcripts, they have to do the legwork to receive all that information, and they're in the middle of the school year, they put them in a class, and then they then get their transcript, and then they have to switch the kids again. That's not great for the students, for the counselors, for the teachers. And I think this is another topic of conversation for another time, but I think that's something we should discuss and figure out how to better make that process more efficient for our school counselors as they are figuring out where to appropriately place our kids, whether it's at the beginning of the school year or whether they're transferred in from another district.
Yes, that's another great point, and something that I think you'll see is reflected at the policy level in the revisions that we made in terms of considering flexibilities for not only students coming from another Connecticut district, but perhaps from another state, from another country. We often receive students in varying circumstances that come with some of the things that you noted, right? With either no transcript, an incomplete transcript, or one that's just really hard to decode, right? So we did add specific language at the policy level to address that, which I think will result in an outcome in practice at the school level where school counselors will have to be working to apply those flexibilities to best understand what is the next best step for the student in terms of course placement, awarding of credit, and so forth. So we did consider that deeply, and I think you'll see that reflected at least in the policy language, but it is a school practice opportunity that we're looking to support as well through the revisions of the policy.
Outstanding. All right, I don't want to stay here too much longer, but I also want to recognize our chair, Chairman Rigger is here, so just wanted to recognize him. All right, Dr. Silver, I think we're ready to move forward.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Pastor AJ. So I did scroll down to the part of the policy with the revised language about special circumstances and allowable flexibilities for earning credit toward graduation. To your point, Ms. Escribano, and such an important point it is, we don't want any of our students who are eligible to have transfer credit to miss out on that or to be delayed in the recognition of that. So we do have language in the policy that honors that we have many different students coming to us from many different places. Some students arrive without transcripts, incomplete transcripts, certainly in thinking about current world events and the possibility of having maybe more Ukrainian high school students. We anticipate that we will need to work through a careful process with students who are refugees who come in. So they may arrive with incomplete or missing transcripts, and we want to provide them with an opportunity to demonstrate their skill and capacity so that we can place them in the right grade, in the right courses, to ensure that they smoothly, as smoothly as possible, have a high school experience that is supportive and nurturing for their development. So I really value and just want to thank Ms. Kellogg and Ms. Abacoli for the leadership in adding this special circumstances revision to the policy just as a sensitivity. I think that's very powerful.
Thank
I
you.
agree.
Thank you for that. That's great. One last question on that, and when it says that the investigation, the mandatory credit investigation is done by a school counselor designee, does that mean it's done first by central office and then it's given to the school counselor, or is the school council solely responsible for doing the legwork on that?
So I believe that the school counselor is the one that initiates and conducts that process.
As opposed to central office, when the kid transfers in, requesting all that information first at central office and then giving it to school counselor.
As far as I'm aware, but Ms. Kellogg, do you have additional insight into this?
Yeah, so I would just add to that, yes, it is primarily the school counselor, but I will say that our partnerships with school counselors as well as Dr. Fallon Daniels has been tremendous in that we often work very closely with school counselors in order to support them with understanding transcripts and understanding course placement, given the circumstances that students arrive with. So we've been very proactive to support them in those situations.
Great. I just wanted to make sure, because obviously everyone is overwhelmed with everything, and I would hate to have another barrier, right, for our students and for the school counselors trying to receive that information. So it makes me happy to hear that you guys are supporting them in that. Thank you.
All right, I think we're ready to move forward.
Pastor Johnson, Mr. Rivera has his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't see everyone. I'm sorry. Who has their hand up? Oh, Phil.
Yeah.
Thank
you. Thank you, First Vice Chair. Mr. Johnson, it's more of a comment and more so around appreciation. Just knowing the work that's ahead of us and the opportunity that's ahead of us. I look at clearly the policy committee as well as finance, and not to take away from other committees, but right, those two committees are probably, at least for me, as I look at the path forward, right, these are critical committees, and this is where a lot of the work happens. And just hearing the exchange just now, that's what we do, right? We have a worldwide crisis. We know that we're a solemn city, and right, what is the policy for us as we look at, right, graduation, whether we look at how we interact with families and so forth. So I just wanted to commend this group and my colleagues for the work that's being done here, and I really appreciate the effort that's being put forth here. So thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. All right, I'm trying to get us off this phone call in the next 15 to 18 minutes. So let us march on.
Thank you so much, Pastor Johnson, and thank you so much, Chairman Ricker. So this portion of the policy, special circumstances, I did scroll down to this because this was aligned with the conversation we were having about credits and the concern that Ms. Escribano raised.
Mm-hmm.
While we're here, I do want to note that our language in this policy is wraps its arms around the students who have had interrupted schooling with item number 3, which is kind of difficult to read. I'm just going to transition to simple markup for a minute, just to show us that, oops, there we go. Students with interrupted attendance or enrollment, such as homelessness, juvenile justice involvement, or incarceration. So we did expand our special circumstances here to ensure that we captured this group. And I'm sorry, but my lights have gone out. Excuse me. Thank you for that. I'm sorry. So we did expand the special circumstances to make sure that we captured that, as was our goal, and as is in alignment with the statutory change required to ensure that we are creating a pathway for incarcerated youth to come back into our community and to graduate from high school on time with their cohort. So that is the change there. And I'll go back to the all markup now. And here are the additional components of that. Any student will receive a mandatory credit review process, as we mentioned earlier, and that there will be flexibilities, as we did mention. And additionally, I thought this was great language. Additional flexibilities not named above may be considered in order to meet minimum graduation requirements and must be approved by the superintendent or his or her designee.
Mhm.
And a change to the graduation requirements, the participation in successful completion of the state mandated assessments has been moved to the program of studies because it is not part of the statutory requirement for graduation. And so I just want to acknowledge that. But we do continue to, as part of our accountability, state accountability, we are required to have a certain participation level of students in our high stakes assessments. And so that is in our program of studies. We have changed language to expand our understanding, transitioning from English language learners to multilingual learners, which celebrates the skill that students bring to us when they enter our schools, speaking another language or another couple languages at home, and gives us an opportunity to honor that. We also have some innovation here that celebrates, as I mentioned earlier, the theme or career pathway of a particular school, and it is to graduate with a distinction by meeting those career pathway course requirements for our students. So I just want to say this is a new piece of this policy for us, and also gives us an opportunity to celebrate the work that our students do when they choose a career pathway in a high school and complete the course requirements for that. So it is in addition to the standard diploma that they could receive, they will receive.
So, so how we do our graduations, right? We have graduation season coming up, and we have different tassels for different things. So, are you saying that there will be an additional tassel, or an additional,
Cord?
yeah, cord, yeah.
Yes,
Is that what you're saying?
yes, sir. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. No, I think anytime we can celebrate our children for anything, I think those tassels are beautiful. And I learned about them last year during graduation, and the superintendent kind of walked me through what each of them were. So I think anything where we can acknowledge and celebrate kids for anything, I am so for. So, for example, can you just name one career pathway that we have in Hartford Public Schools that we might potentially will see?
Thank you for that. I do know that we do have cords in place now for students who earn a seal of biliteracy, meaning they've passed a rigorous test and have demonstrated biliteracy in a language other than English. So that is an existing cord. And I wonder, Ms. Kellogg or Ms. Abicoli, if you can add examples of current high school pathways that would be recognized with a cord at graduation beginning with the class of 2023.
Sure. So this is actually work that that needs to continue at the school level, also with our high school principals, to determine what those requirements would be for those school themes. So for instance, I'll use the arts as an example. So at Kinsella Magnet School of the Arts, students who enroll in that school most likely would have a goal to further their arts education, take an extra set of arts classes to prepare them potentially for an arts college or university and career after that. So Kinsella, for instance, might identify 5 extra credits in their arts pathway, and in which case they would have a special chord on their for graduation to signify that.
Mhm. Outstanding. Appreciate that. So for our new board members that are going to be attending graduations, you're going to see a parade of hopefully a parade of chords. But let's carry on. Thank you. Thank you so much, Tracy.
Thank you so much, Ms. Abacoli and Ms. Kellogg. I think that this is a really exciting addition. We're getting to the end of this policy. This of the class of 2015 has been updated to the class of 2023, again, with the archived requirements applying to students who are still in the system who may not have graduated yet, who are members of the class of 2022. This policy would apply to the class of 2023. So previous graduating classes. And then we have an update to our legal references and Connecticut statutes. And then all of the work that our board has done on this. And last fall, October, was the last time that we had a second reading on this policy. And that was, as I mentioned earlier, to support our students who are graduating during the pandemic with greater flexibility for their high school graduation requirements. In alignment with state statutory requirements. So that concludes the overview, but I welcome any additional questions.
Any questions from our committee, comments, concerns? All right, hearing none or seeing no hands. I would like to say that at our June policy meeting, if it is possible, Dr. Silver and Christina, and to the staff here, I think this committee would like to have an audience with the guidance counselors to just really encourage them for the work that they're doing. So if there's a way that maybe in June that we can have a few guidance counselors just for 10 minutes of this meeting, not to interrupt their whole day. Just come on, just so we can just encourage them as it is winding down to the end of the school year, and just share with them their importance in this process. I would like to see that happen in June if possible. If it's not possible, by all means, just let me know that they got other stuff going on or whatever. But if it's possible to give them notice that this committee would like to just give them an encouraging word, because guidance counselors make or break what children do. I know that was my experience with my guidance counselor. He only told me I can go to Capital Community College in Manchester Community College. And he set a limit to my educational experience. While he talked about his children going to Ivy League schools, he told me my destiny was community school or public community school. And that wasn't the case for me. And so I just really want to share the importance of what they say and the possibilities that they present to our children, but also celebrate them as well. So if that's possible, please let me know, Dr. Silver and Christina and Tracy and all of the Michelle, if that is possible. All right, let us carry on. How many more do we have, Dr. Silver?
That concludes our policies for today. May we move that policy forward for a first reading to our next Board of Education meeting?
Do we have any objections from any board members? Mr. Walker, Ms. Ledger, Ms. Escobar, Mr. Phil, any opposition to moving this policy forward? No objection. Okay.
No.
Okay. All right. ladies and gentlemen, is that it? Is that all of our policies, Dr. Silver?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, listen, Dr. Silver, I want to thank you so much for leading us through this process. You are an amazing person and a gift to Hartford Public Schools, and to all the staff that are on here. You are a gift to our children and to our community, and I just really applaud all the work that you all do on a day-to-day basis. I appreciate you so much. And Chairman Phil said, appreciate everyone's leadership on this committee. Thank you. And I just want to say, I hope that you all have an amazing week, and that you all get through everything that you need to get through and head toward the weekend with smiles. And happy Mother's Day. Is it Mother's Day this weekend? Happy Mother's Day to all the moms that are on here. You all play an important role. And so happy Mother's Day to you all if I don't get a chance to say it before Sunday. If there are any other comments, questions, or concerns before we go, anything? Yes, Dr. Silver.
I just want to share, I know that you already mentioned appreciation for our teachers, but it is Teacher Appreciation Week. And so I just want to thank you so much, Pastor Johnson, for expressing that appreciation for our teachers. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's a sentiment that we want to have the spirit of excellence and the spirit of appreciation. We're dealing in a great resignation, and I don't want you all to leave. I want you all to stay, and I want you all to be happy. And whatever we as a board can do to make that more efficient for you all to continue to work with our students and families. I can't speak for Mr. Rigger, but I think that that's a sentiment that we all share. All right. You all have a wonderful day. God bless you. And